negotiation instead of arm twisting. Culturally, dialogue instead of assuming that we have the answers to everything.
Well, what happens when dialogue doesn't work? I mean, what happens when it's no longer an option? They've exhausted everything. What happens then?
You continue dialogue. You take dialogue with other partners. If you take Israel-Palestine, for instance, that's a good example. But I'm not quite sure we really have dialogue there. I think we have a lot of arm twisting, the way the Palestinians have been treated. To me, the solution to that one, since I founded this mediation organization, Transcend, is a Middle East community modeled after the European community. In 1958, it was 6 countries, Germany with neighboring countries, Israel with 5 neighboring countries. Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Palestine, Egypt. That could work, you see. And of course, Palestine, according to internationally legitimate borders. That means essentially in 1967, Israel would have to give up expansionism and would gain security through peace. The only way they can do it.
Well, peace, I'm sure, is something that everyone wants. Sometimes not
Absolutely.
as realistic as we would like it to be. I want to thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank
you indeed.
As author and Professor Johan Gultung discussing a whole lot of issues here with me in Washington, D.C. But for now, Yulia, it's going to be back to you in Moscow.
Get your gun.
Yo, it's the Samurai Showdown. Nonpartisan Liberty for All, and we are back. If you'd like to call in and join the conversation, 702-470-7664, 702-470-7664. I would text first and let me know your name and your where you're calling from and what you want to talk about, and then call back. And, well, not call back because you wouldn't be calling in the first place. You'd be texting, but call. And if you would like to Skype in, which is always sounds better, you can Skype in at NonPartisanLibertyForall. It's all one word. And when you type it in, just to be safe that you have mine, just type it in with the first letter of each word capitalized, but it's still all one word. And then send me a contact request and just let me know, send a message of your name and where you're calling from and what you want to talk about. I know it sounds all complicated. It's really not. And those that have Skype should know that. So I wanted to get to my main topic for tonight, which we have been talking about. I just didn't really get into the points that I wanted to make sure that we did hit on. So, first of all, I would call the United States an empire, along with a whole bunch of other people, I guess, because if you go on YouTube and search for the U.S. empire, you'll get a whole bunch of videos. And if you search for U.S. empire, I think falling or U.S. empire, what was it? The end of the U.S. empire, you'll see that as well. So what makes them an empire, the U.S. government? Well, I look at it as the control and their power within the world. I mean, they are still the number one superpower. I would say that everyone would agree with that. Now you have China and you have the Soviet Union, and well, it's not the Soviet Union anymore, Russia. And Russia kind of had that when the Soviet Union broke up, their status, I think, dropped. China's become a superpower, I think, more in the past 10, 15 years. It hasn't been for that long. And then I guess England would be, or the United Kingdom would be one. And I don't know what other countries would really be considered superpowers. I guess you have countries that would be considered first world countries that are up there as powerful countries. Like, I don't know how you would consider, how you would look at a country like Canada or France, or I know Spain is having its issues. You have Greece, Italy, all having issues, and I don't know that you consider any of those countries superpower. So in Europe, I mean, I think it's really just the United Kingdom is the main superpower there, and then in Asia, it's Russia and China. Well, I mean, Russia being half, I think, in Asia and half in Europe. And I think countries that are, I guess, on the rise, you have India, which seems to be building up, becoming more of a, when I say building up, I mean more, I think they're building up more their economy, I guess. They always have, it's weird with India, because if you look at all the tech jobs and things like that, and all the consultants, and I know this just from all the companies I worked at, they all hired companies from India. Now, I know that has to do with the price, because they're not getting paid what people in the U.S. are getting paid for doing the same thing. And I think you get what you pay for too. I don't know that everyone that works for these companies is at the level that some of the people in the U.S. are, but a lot of them are, and a lot of them are learning or intelligent and getting, degrees in computer science or things like that, and getting into these consulting groups. So I guess India would be one of those countries that's kind of, it's big area-wise, a lot of big population, but they also have, and I know this from, I know people that have gone there, they have a lot of poverty there, at least. This was, 5 years ago when somebody I know had went there, and there's parts of India that are just really bad. So I don't know really how you'd rank India, and I mean the three, I guess, main superpowers are it kind of sounds funny. It makes me think of like the Justice League, and is really, I think right now, is Russia, China, and the U.S. And I guess the U.K., you can't ever, underestimate them, which is a country that essentially, I mean, look at the empire that they built in the more recent era. I think they're probably, if you look at time-wise, they're probably the country that most recently had an actual empire where they were occupying all of these countries or territories or whatever you want to call them until, pretty recently. So most of those countries, I think, are now independent nations, but at some point they were controlled by England. I don't know that the U.S. had a lot of that in being an empire. They do things. They're smart about the way they do things, the U.S. government, because they have an empire, but it's like a secret empire. They don't actually have countries that they go out and call part of the U.S., that they've taken over this country or they control this country. I mean, they have a couple islands like the U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Guam, and I'm sure there's a couple others, but there's not actual countries. At one point, they controlled the Philippines. There's not, but so did Spain, I think, originally, and I think some other countries did along the way as well. But they don't control any countries at this point. And I don't think there's a modern day empire. I think if you take, and this is just my opinion and kind of looking at this and analyzing it, I don't think you have the same modern day empire, obviously, that you had years ago, where you'd have a country that would go and take over other countries, literally, and would control them. And it wouldn't be a secret thing. It would be like the Nazis. And I think they were the last real, quote unquote, public empire. But I think the way that you build an empire in present day is more behind the scenes, not in the spotlight or publicly going in and invading countries the same way. Although the U.S. did invade all these countries, but they didn't supposedly invade them to take them over and take control. So they do it in a way where they say, okay, we're going to get rid of this dictator and hand the country over to the people. And that's if you look at Iraq, if you look at Afghanistan. And what they really do is just implement governments that they want based on, oh, well, we're trying to build a democracy. They implement the leaders that they want. So they're controlling these countries, but they want it to look like that they're helping them, that they're not controlling them, they're not calling the shots. They're just there to help the country to make it on its own. Like they're like the parent, they're the parent to the country. And once the kid can make it on its own, then they get out of there. And of course, what they've been doing recently I guess now it's been 10 plus years with Afghanistan and Iraq. And I know supposedly they left Iraq, but we don't know about the mercenaries that they left over there. Well, I guess we do, because they got ISIS over there. So